courses. And so it's pretty broad. I mean, the idea is reading, writing, math, and to be able to kind of get those fundamental things right. And the idea is how can you, again, touch the most students with the best courseware.
Are you at all interested in global citizenships? And I know it's focused on the United States, but the world is merging a lot more. So are you interested in other countries and connecting kids? And
yeah, so our charge from the foundation is we just work, the benefit has to be in the U.S. And so we really, with this program, have been trying to reach out internationally to get programs that work across the board. And you saw that some of the, a good almost 10% of the applications were from overseas. So we're trying to work that balance. We do a lot of work internationally, and international education and domestic education are two huge things that we are trying to, bite off only one intractable problem at a time.
John Angelson again, CSU Monterey Bay, and I did grab the mic from my wife. I can't believe she handed it to me. First, I'd like to thank you for the one session I attended, worked with your group, and you do have the blue ribbon set of educational associations there. But a lot of innovation happens in the edge. Karen Caters talked about the Department of Commerce, the military. What are your thoughts about bringing in some of the lunatic fringe or the edge people who make changes?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I love that comment, because a big part of this effort was to, again, pull together uncommon players, trying to find for-profit, not-for-profit, government agencies, anybody who thinks they can bring ideas to bear that can help, again, really good ideas to impact lots of students and going to scale. So we'll hope that, we can work with the ADL CoLabs of the world and others to figure out how we can bring things from lots of other sectors into this sector to do some good work. And what we're really interested in seeing the proposals is some of those interesting partnerships that have already been formed, that are already doing some interesting work, and figuring out how you can bring that to a broader place. And I think that's a great segue to some of the questions that we wanted to take, to sort of get people's input on. Because one of the biggest questions we have is, how do we get the lunatic fringe? We can find the usual suspects, and the EDUCAUSE membership list, pretty much covers the usual suspects in higher ed. And so part of the reason we're at CES is to get people who are, technologists looking at education, and some of the mass media press we've been trying to do around this initiative are getting some of those unusual suspects. But that's one of the things that we'll take one question here, but then I want to just tee up these questions, which is to say, how do we draw in the lunatic fringe? How do we draw the most innovative, entrepreneurial, creative institutions, organizations, for-profits, nonprofits into this work? Because the success of this program is entirely dictated by the quality of the proposals that come in. And then we want to ask what challenges you all want to hear, and how can this be most useful for you? What kind of information, what kind of things do you want to see come out of this that would be most helpful? So think about those questions, and we'll take one or two more clarifying.
This is Anil Saleti here. I work for Verizon Wireless, but I have spent a lot of time with the kids, for low-income kids over the weekends, teaching them math, science, and computers. So through my learning process, I think there's some tremendous opportunity to make the learning process much more interactive, immersive, and rewarding experience on a daily basis for students. If we have those ideas, how do we protect those, the intellectual property of new ideas, and make it, it's not about the profit thing, but also make it scalable quickly. So is there any opportunity there that our ideas are protected?
Yeah. So we lean toward more open, because we think that open innovation communities accelerate the learning more quickly. That said, we think there's the opportunity for returns and proprietary interests to drive innovation is really important as well. And to be honest, we're trying to strike that right balance, particularly as a foundation where it's a lot easier to work with one half the market than the other half. For-profits can apply for this, and they can get these resources. If you're building courseware, it has to be open. But if you're saying, look, we've got this new gaming platform, it's gonna be really great, we're gonna make it reasonably accessible to low-income communities, right? We have to figure out together what that would mean. You're gonna give it away free to low-income communities, but charge the suburban,
right.
Then we're really interested in working with folks like that.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yep.
We're gonna take one more question here, and then we're gonna hand it back to you.
This is an answer.
Oh, good, yeah.
You just asked a question.
No more questions,
this is an answer.
Only answers. We
Here's
need answers.
We need answers. A quick answer. How can we draw the most innovative entrepreneurs, et cetera, into this initiative? You are accustomed to having entrepreneurs ask for money, but there's actually something else that we need just as badly. I'm a person who started, I'll be immodest, 20 companies. And I've also run a technology transfer department at a university. So I supposedly know something about education. The bottom line is that when you come up with a technology, it turns out there's nobody to ask about what you should do to test where the most interesting applications for the technology are. You always start with one or two ideas, or you have a need that you think you've solved. So what could you do? You could organize a conference, a meeting, a website, some method of putting together entrepreneurs with true educators, everyone in this room, who can comment on what they think the likely problems are with your technology, how it should be tested, what are some of the very positive aspects of their technology as they imagine it to be.
Yeah, it's a great, great comment. And I'll put in a plug too for the group Startle, if you know Startle. So it's start and then the letter L, startle.org. Okay. And they're a group about a year old. We've helped start them up, but they're a nonprofit entity that's really trying to work in that early stage, early for-profit or nonprofit, and connect ideas to education distribution channels, really. Yeah, but we were just talking about that question, like not even an hour and a half ago. We were talking about the real need to get innovators together with the institutions and the leaders in the institutions who'd be willing and are probably the best players to figure out how to make it work. We think that's part of this ecosystem that needs to emerge out of these kinds of efforts.
I'm John Cowan from Peak Achievement Training. I'd like to advocate for the idea that if you're trying to draw in at least one very innovative lunatic fringe, that you really open yourself to medical science and neuroscience and some of the new research there by actually perhaps even hiring somebody who has expertise in that area to be able to respond to those kinds of things. My particular area of interest is in brainwave biofeedback, and even 10 years ago there was a successful program in Yonkers that was doing wonderful things, expanding from 1 school to 3, and then it was going to be 7 until September 11th hit, and the governor had to take his money elsewhere. But the point is that the technology is out there. We know how to enhance the ability of people to pay attention. We know that there's a real problem that goes beyond attention deficit disorder to people who might be on the other end of that thin gray line in the general population. We all could use some reinforcement in that basic skill. And what I'd like to think is that as a result of this dialogue, perhaps we can continue to talk about the potential for using that kind of slightly disruptive technology in a computer learning lab to begin to really boost outcomes at a most fundamental level.
Yeah, really interesting set of conversations. My nephew's actually, because of ADHD challenges, involved in neurobiofeedback, and has had amazing results. It's been fascinating to watch him play out, but I'm just going to plug for Josh right now. He's actually hiring a program officer that we want to be a specialist in neuroscience and technology. So that's on the website right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Good timing.
Good timing, yeah. Other ideas? Over here?
Hi. Thank you. Joe Gensheimer. I couldn't do brainwave. I only have 2 cells, according to my wife, and she's not sure how I operate. But one thing I think is that's important is to reach out, because I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs think about the Gates Foundation as something to go reach out for. My daughter's at the School of Management at Yale, and she runs an education conference. She just calls people up, and she says, you know, you should be here, and even though you don't think you have anything to do with education, you need to be here. And she just grinds them down until they finally agree to come. And even though you would think that, you know, people I'm sure are always coming up to you, they want money, they want this, and all the rest, people who you want are the ones who aren't going to do that, I don't think. Yeah. So, I mean, and so I think you have to, you sort of have to reach out, get somebody out there who's sort of go out there and get them, just as a thought.
Sort of like Jenny Goldstein did for this session.
Yeah. We can go here. We'll go here.
Hi, I'm Mitsuko Herrera. I'm the Cable and Broadband